Hello everyone, and welcome to another Shadowlands video. My name is Barokoshama, and today we're talking about patch 9.1. It's finally coming out on the 29th of June, and I wanted to release a video on how you guys can prepare your World of Warcraft characters in anticipation for the patch coming out. A little bit of information I wanted to share, so let's head on over first to the talking point that I want to start with, which is the Maw. Now, there is a little bit of things that you guys can do in the Maw and in Torghast in order to prepare for 9.1, starting with Torghast itself. Because of the things that are changing in the new raid, the Sanctum of Domination, you're actually going to be receiving new Domination socketed items, which we will talk about in a little bit, but this is going to change the way that you gear your legendaries, because the Domination socketed items, depending on which type of armor that your character has, right? Cloth, leather, mail, or plate, it's in specific slots, mainly the helm, the shoulders, and the chest for all four armor types, but there are variations after that, being the boots, the belts, and the hands. Now, you can do Torghast in anticipation for the new patch, specifically if you need to move your legendary item, talking, for example, the Echoes of the Great Sundering. Because it's on the shoulder slot, I'm going to be moving it over to the hand slot for the patch, because, well, the shoulder slot is a Shard of Domination, or the Socketed Domination slot item in the new raid. So I'm going to be moving that over to the hands because, for example, the male armor type is helm, shoulders, chest, belt, and boots, right? So the hand slot is free. So specifically for the Echoes of the Great Sundering, I will be moving that over to the hands. Now, I'm going to be prepping that with early Soul Ash. I know in 9.1 you can farm Soul Ash repeatedly, at least for what I could tell from the changes, but for specific items, because the Stygian sockets are going to be disappearing in 9.1, there is a way that you can prep your characters and your legendary slots to take advantage of getting a socket on those legendary slots early if you have to move that item from a Shard of Domination socketed item over to a non-Shard of Domination socketed item. So for example, if we go with the Skybreaker's Fiery Demise, because it's on the chest, I'm going to be moving it over to a ring slot. Now, because it's going to be on a ring slot, you can actually socket a ring, right? So I am going to be farming Stygia to get the socketed the socket for the new legendary slot for the Skybreakers. This may not pertain to everybody, especially if you cannot put a socket on the legendary slot item. So if you can craft a specific legendary item on a slot that's going to be able to be socketed, consider farming Stygia to socket that new legendary slot item. I know that was kind of like a handful. It dabbled into a lot of different things, but because the Stygian sockets are going to be disappearing in 9.1 and you'll have to farm a whole new currency in order to socket your items, it may be worth to get a socket going into that. Consider which race that you want to play for the new raid. So this is going to dabble a little bit into the utilities of the races, the racial abilities, right? So for example, I'm Tauren right now, so I get War Stomp and increased stamina, right? But Shaman can only be specific races. If I wanted to be a Goblin Shaman, for example, just to get Rocket Jump or the Propel Rocket ability, the Rocket Jump is good for mobility, so that's going to be helpful on some fights. This is for the min-maxi. If you're a hardcore raider or if you're a progression raider and you take that kind of stuff very seriously, just consider what race you want to play going forward into the new patch for the new Sanctum of Domination for progression purposes. If you're just clearing your raid at your own pace with your guildies, or you pug a lot of the raids, you don't really need to consider that kind of thing. I'm never going to recommend that you guys spend extra money, but it's just something that I wanted to say for those people who are into that whole min-maxi part of the game. Let's talk about covenants. So there's going to be a lot of covenant changes going into patch 9.1. mainly renown grinding, soulbind changes, the new legendaries that are coming out, right? So consider which covenant that you want to go into patch 9.1. And I'll give you an example of what I am doing. So currently I am Night Fae, right? I've been Night Fae for a while. I swapped to Night Fae after my guild finished progression on Sire Denathrius. And I've already completed the 2 weeks of weeklies to swap back to Necrolord. Now I'm doing this because Necrolord for Elemental Shaman is the best overall and well-rounded covenant, because I'm going to be playing multiple aspects of the game, raiding, PvP, and Mythic Plus. Necrolord is best for all, if you're going to be covering all three of those content, all three of that type of content. So I already have the quest available to swap back to Necrolord. Example 1. If you're swapping back to a Necrolord, if you're swapping back to a covenant that you were previously, start that quest now. Get it done, so that way when the new patch drops, you're already going to be able to be the right covenant that you want to be. Now when it comes to swapping to a new covenant that you're really interested in trying out for the patch, if you swap now, you can start to do the renown catch up, right? You can start to catch up on your renown. You can do your whole sanctum upgrades and all that stuff. You can familiarize yourself with the playstyle of the covenant, because in some cases there is a noticeable playstyle change for switching covenants. Now there's going to be a renown catch-up system, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be caught up on day 1. For flying, okay, for the covenant legendaries, you actually need to be renowned 40 to unlock those things. So if you wanted to get a head start on that kind of stuff before the patch drops, that way you don't have to do the whole catch-up during, there is time now. That's all I'm saying. You can swap the covenant now. You can spend the next 2 weeks getting back up to renown 40, so that way when the patch drops, you're already going to be there. You can unlock your flying, and you can unlock your covenant legendaries if that's what you want to do. So, preparing your covenants for the patch. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. All right, now let's talk about familiarizing yourself with the new Keystone Master achievements, how it's going to work, the new affix that's coming out as well, okay? Because things are changing. Things are definitely changing. So, the new Keystone Master requires you to have a certain amount of score, and they're implementing pretty much a similar Raider.io scoring system into the game. Blizzard's finally doing a ranking system for Mythic Plus. That's exciting. It is. It opens up a lot of opportunities for people to be more competitive in an aspect of the game that, you know, wasn't taken as seriously before. But I digress. Let's talk about it. So the way that it's changing is you have to accumulate a certain amount of in-game score in order to unlock the certain tiers of Keystone Master. So for instance, you need for Keystone Explorer, requires 750 Mythic Plus rating. Now it used to be you just needed to get that rating from either Fortified or Tyrannical, right? You used to either had to complete all Shadowlands dungeons during Season 2, dungeons at Mythic level 5 or higher within the time limit. But now, it is a scoring system, and the scoring system implements both Tyrannical and Fortified keys. So the scoring system accumulates your highest key on both Tyrannical and Fortified. Your higher key of the two will reward 100% of the score, but the lower key of the two will only contribute 33% of the score. So this means that completing the key on both Tyrannical and Fortified will be required to get the highest score possible. And that also means if you're completing Tyrannical and Fortified keys on a weekly basis, because they're swapping, you're going to be able to get your Keystone Master scoring a lot faster. This means playing on Tyrannical weeks is going to be a thing, which, I mean, great. If more people are playing keys, that's awesome. But I need you guys to understand the changes at hand for the Keystone Master system, which is the entire scoring system is being revamped. You no longer just have to complete one of the two type of keys. It's better for you to participate in both of the different affixes to get the highest score. So familiarize yourself with that. as well as the mechanics of the dungeons. I know a lot of people don't actually play on tyrannical weeks, so it's going to be beneficial for you guys to actually read up on the effects, the mechanics of the bosses, things that are hitting a lot harder on tyrannical weeks that normally you wouldn't have to pay as much attention to on fortified weeks. Familiarize yourself with the mechanics of the dungeons, the boss encounters, all that stuff in anticipation if you're going to be going for the Keystone Master Achievement. Keystone Master Achievement is going to be tied behind the Valor Point system upgrade, so a lot of people are going to be interested in getting these achievements unlocked, as well as of course, the mount, right? The recolor neon green mount from season 1 that everybody has if they completed 15 plus 15 in all dungeons. Now you have to get a certain score rating to unlock the mount, which is the Keystone Master achievement. So people are going to be doing a lot more keys. Familiarize yourself with the mechanics. Just educate yourself. Be prepared, because not a lot of people are going to hold your hands. That's all I'm saying. Talking about familiarizing yourself with mechanics, read up on the new boss encounters. The new raid, Sanctum of Domination, is coming out the week after the patch launches for heroic difficulty, and then raid and the Race to World First the following week after that, the Mythic raid version. So familiarize yourself with the boss encounters, read up on the mechanics and stuff like that, because things are a lot more solidified now that the patch is approaching at a given date. Of course, things can still change, but not a lot of drastic mechanical changes, as well as strategies to do the bosses. That's not going to change much. So read up on Fat Boss guides, Icy Veins guides, right? A lot of guilds have been streaming their PTR testing. Why not go and read up on that stuff? Watch some videos. It's good. It's good stuff. You can also hop onto the PTR itself, because it's available to everyone. You just have to sign up for it, and take a look at the new seasonal affix Tormented. It's a little tricky right now because the balancing of it is a little wonky, but if you familiarize yourself with how the seasonal affix works along with the anima powers, that'll be beneficial for you. You can have a little bit more information going into the new Mythic Plus season. I recommend doing pretty much all this stuff if you guys are hardcore and min-maxy about the game, but if you guys just want to play casual, of course, TBC Classic is there and available for you. If you guys just want to take a break, I've been playing it a lot myself. All right, I stream it live, twitch.tv, and I'm going to be doing Hardcore 9.1 when it launches. So come and check out the stream, twitch.tv/Barokoshama. The link will be in the video down below. If you guys want to support my Patreon account, I'll be leaving that as well. I also have merchandise and fun stuff like that. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe for more Shaman content and Shadowlands content going into the future. And until next time, guys, keep calm and Maelstrom on. Bye-bye. Hey, Arthas, you want some coffee there, bud?
I prefer iced.